There's a genius inside every feeling, every emotion, every experience. There's a gift inside all of it.
Mm,
And I think that's really, really important for us to remember and embrace.
yeah.
Hey, this is Justin Michael Williams, and before you get started on watching this interview that I know you're excited to watch, I want to tell you that this interview series is a part of a special event that our community does that is totally free every year called Manifest New Year's Eve. Now, whether you're watching this close to the new year or not, listen carefully because I want to give you this context. Every year, at the end of the year, our community puts together this incredible event that helps you set your mission, vision, and goals for the year to come. And our theme is you don't get what you want in life. You get what you are. You get what you are. So it's about who you're becoming so that you can transform. And these interviews, this interview that you're about to watch, was a part of that special event. And the best part is it's free and you can watch it anytime you want. So if you go to this website, manifestnye.com, you can see the full replay of our 3-hour masterclass featuring all of these incredible special guests like Young Pueblo, Dr. Tama, Dan Siegel, Sarah King, Sianna Sherman, Vanessa In, and more. And our community coming together so that we can actually transform our lives. And you'll get a special manifest workbook that will walk you through every single step of the process. And it's totally free. It's our gift to you because what we really believe is that no matter who you love, no matter how much money is in your bank account, no matter what your identity is, and no matter what color your skin is, we all deserve to live in the full abundance that is our birthright. And so it's a great honor to be on this journey with you and to present to you this interview from Manifest New Year's Eve. May you be well.
Hey, everybody, this is Justin Michael Williams with Manifest New Year's Eve, and I'm so excited, like really so honored from the deepest place in my heart to have my special guest with me right now today, Miss Sianna Sherman. Sianna, thank you so much for being here. And I'm laughing because like this is the first time I think I called you Miss Sianna
I
Sherman.
was laughing too.
and I just have to let you all know. So Sianna and I have been great friends for many lifetimes now at this point, but realistically for the last many years, like much of my time and definitely all of your time in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
And I said that one of my intentions with the New Year's interviews was to bring to my community the people who have had the biggest impact on my life. And I can tell you that the opening up of my voice was literally, Sianna was there for every moment of it. Like all of it that you're seeing of the expression of the gifts that I've been able to step into in the world and the manifesting of the life that I've been able to manifest was deeply created through the sense of ritual and safety and love and connection and magic that Sianna has brought forth in my life. And she's a friend, but also a mentor and a teacher and a guide to me and to so many. And when I say so many, I mean like quite literally hundreds of thousands of people all over the world in every country that you can think of. And so Sianna, I know you have a very busy day right now. So I thank you for taking the time out of your schedule to be with us. And I'm super excited for you to bring your wisdom to everybody.
Thanks, Justin. And you know what? Pretty much everything you said is how I feel about you too.
Oh, so here we are.
You're really like a dream come true, a friend for me. And from the moment I landed in Los Angeles, you really were the first friend that I came into deep connection with. And I just want to say that so much of the spirit of activation and magic and just bringing through the creative energy gets so amplified. And it's so much fun when we have real friendship and friends who support us and see us and will be there for us when we're at our, most vulnerable places, which you have been there for me so
We've been
many
there.
times,
We've been
and
there.
just right there with each other, bearing witness through it all and just loving each other so much. And the more that we experience like that whole arc of life, from the deepest pains and the most ecstatic joys, we are deepening in our intimacy through these friendships, and it just builds like it just builds this bridge of possibility. So the deepest bow to you for being one of my most magical friends in the way of true deep intimacy of the heart and magic activation too.
There we are. This is our beginning, because I think as we're talking about this activation of the heart, and the magic, the piece of that, and the alchemy, really, when we activate that space in our hearts, that I know you speak about so beautifully. And I love, obviously, seeing the Shri yantra right over your heart right now. And I'm thinking about this in relation to 2021, into all of us getting into this space of the new year and needing to activate this space of the heart, more and more and more. And no matter when somebody's watching this, whether they're watching it right at the new year or many years later, I think we're going to still have this moment of needing to activate that magic of the heart. So why do you think that itself is so relevant right now and so important and needed? And how do we start getting started in doing that?
Oh, Justin. Well, I just want to say that you and I are connecting right now in this moment on the day of the great conjunction of Jupiter and Saturn and winter solstice, and the real midwiving of the Aquarius energy and into the world, and the power of the collective we. And this is the whole empowerment of the heart. And right as you started speaking, I could see one of the teachings from Bhagavan Nityananda coming through. And the teaching is that the heart is the hub of all places. Go there and roam. And the truth is like at the root of the heart and this whole energetic gorgeousness of our being, at the root of the heart is where so much is being breathed into and transformed and sincerely alchemized in the way of the heart. And this is where we listen so deeply to what's calling us in our soul's innermost longing, and we start to hear it and feel it, and then we might be able to name it or speak it, or maybe not, but we know that something is stirring from deep in our soul. And as we start to listen in this way deep inside the heart, it starts calling us through these realms of the unmanifest through the manifesting and into the manifest. And that's all happening through the power of the sunlight at the root of the heart, moving us through these realms and these gateways. And then we hook that personal longing up with a big collective vision and for the benefit of all. And then that's full alchemical heart wing magic activation. And that is what 2021 is really about and calling us to. And 2020 is like pushing us to the limit to show up for our soul lessons and for ways that we have to be accountable, maybe ways that we have not been accountable, both personally and collectively for the greater whole. And we have to see it and turn to it and embrace it so that we can work with it and tell a new narrative and co-create a new culture that actually cares for the power of the we and the power of the heart and of the collective heart. And that's where real magic happens. So 2021 is just going to be like,
Yeah. And you know what? This is so amazing because I just got off of an interview for this with Dr. Dan Siegel. And what I'm loving is I'm interviewing all these people separately, and we're all framing in to this conversation of the we, or as the collective we, or as Dan calls it, we. He says, me, it's the me. It's not leaving the me. And it's also not only becoming a we, it's keeping the me and integrating with the we. So it's that collective we, and he calls it me plus we equals we. And it's the most beautiful thing. And I think I want to name a few things and unpack a few things that you left us with there, because there was so much in that I think people could benefit from diving into. So first thing, right, is the calling that is whispering and beckoning you that you can breathe space to in your own heart. How do we start to listen and have the courage to listen to that call?
Mm.
Because you helped me listen to that call in a lot of ways. I think you remember some big moments, to really listen to that call. So how do we start to do that?
There are so many ways. And in this spirit of the me, we, and I want to call us into that spirit of that truly interconnected, resonant field. And that this interconnected, interdependent, resonant field is calling forth the rewilding of each of us and that power of the diversity of our creativity, all interconnected. And so, in the way of listening, also, it is going to be very diverse in the way that we might all come to really hearing what's deep inside our heart. And in the yoga tradition, it's one of the ways of referring to this is the Icha Shakti. Shakti means energy, power, and the dynamic creative force. And Icha means the innermost longing and will. And as you beautifully said it, whispering within the depth of our being. So here are a few ways that are invitations, and there are many. I find that going and being in nature, and I think you knew I was going to start there. Whatever calls you, like in this moment, if we are to close our eyes or turn inside and we just say nature, and then we see what appears before us. Is it an ocean, a mountain, a tree, a flower garden, a vegetable garden, the songbirds, the wonderful little reptiles running around close to the ground? What is it that calls us? And right there, that's an instantaneous hookup for us to say yes to. And so then trust that. Like, this is so much about like trusting the inner just presence of the self and the inner wisdom of the self. Trust it and go to that place in nature if you can, or travel in an inner visualization. And then go without agenda. Go without, like, there's a saying of in the teachings of to be with nothing to prove and nothing to hide, to simply be present in this way. And then as we sync up and we come into rhythm in nature, then we might find expression coming through us through song or movement or breath or stillness. And then we can begin to listen from this way and in rhythm. So that's one way. Music, just turning on music that inspires you, whatever it is, and let your body move and dance and let it just really like pulse and breathe and be, and then come into stillness and maybe close to the earth or with your back up against the support of a wall and listen from here. It might be that in those most liminal spaces, as we're falling asleep and just waking up, those very liminal spaces is a wonderful place to listen and to ask inwardly, like an inner whisper. Hello, how are you calling me at this time? What is your voice, your song? And in the most liminal spaces, and so that it could be meditation, it could be a wonderful yoga practice, it might be a long run that puts you in that zone. And whatever that is for you in who we are, trust in that space and see what comes through.
And I've been so all of that, and I've been practicing the mythic yoga flow with you online. This month has really been holding me into that listening space. And I think one of the things that you said in the beginning that keeps coming up again and again and again when I hear people talk about the listening is the courage that comes with being able to then act or actually take what you're hearing and embody and integrate that into the whole of you, into the collective, into the whole thing. And so what about when it's scary? What about when you hear the call, right? And you're like, oh, but what do I do? How am I gonna actually do this? So how do we build that courage? And even if it's not practical, like, what do we need to know about that integration, of courage and the listening?
Oh, I love it. Well, and I love storytelling.
Hmm.
And there's different arcs of stories, but one of them we know is the hero's journey and the heroine's journey. And they begin with the call. And then there's so much excitement, like, yes, I hear the call and I'm gonna follow it. And it's a new adventure and it feels so exciting. And yet at the same time, it's utterly terrifying
Yeah.
because it's something totally different, something totally new. And when we're excited to begin this new journey, there is simultaneously and very naturally a fear, maybe multiple fears, resistance, excuses, all sorts of things can come up of why not to follow it. And this is where the bravery of our being comes in. And there's so many ways to connect with the bravery of our being. And I think that one of them is simply knowing that we're not being asked to step in this new way and get it all just right and be perfect about it, and it's the perfect expression, the perfect book, the perfect whatever. It's like wipe that out right away, bow to it. We go in with a great humility, a deep trust in the mystery, and with the excitement and the fear of our being together. And we show up and we say, this longing in my heart is so much greater than this resistance, this fear, this challenge, this adversary, that I am going to muster it up and I'm going to go for it. And I can just show up in the full, wonderful, maybe chaotic messiness of the attempts of the first creative expression. And it's going to be so much fun because that's all part of it. So it's a big, gigantic play that honors both the fear and the excitement of it, and mustering up. There's so many. I work a lot with mudras, like this one I love, of the mudra of unshakable trust. And this is bringing, it's called the Vajra. And the Vajra means the thunderbolt, the initiatory power, and it also means the diamond. And so this is calling us in with unshakable trust to be initiated, to go inside those pathways of initiation and begin to cultivate the diamond body. And how's a diamond born? Through deep
Pressure.
intensity, deep hit, deep heat. It gets cooked up and then it
Yeah.
pushes up from the deep within the mantle of the earth and shine bright like a diamond time.
It's so amazing, Sianna, because the levels, the layers of connection here, really they mean so much, because it also reminds me of how much of who I've become has been because of the teachings that you've shared. Because even in the 40-day program that many of us will be starting together in the community in January, the second week, which is all about self-sabotage, is called our Diamond Week,
Oh.
because it's about how those pressures that we use, how do we turn that pressure into power, and become the diamonds that we are. And so it just, there's so many layers. And I'm wondering, Sianna, for those of you who, for those people who may not know you so well yet, I'm wondering if you might tell us a story of a moment when you've followed that courage, of your heart, and woken up into that space, so that we can see, even if it's a big story or if it's a little story, so that we can all recognize that we're all on this path, of awakening together.
Wonderful. Let me feel into that. I feel like there's stories within stories within stories
It's a hard one, right?
pretty much every single day. Um, well, first, I want to I'll share briefly one, because this was really a very pivotal time in my life. It was the end of my teenage years, and I had really gone through several years that were just in the underworld. And what I want to also say is just I want to welcome us all into the underworld journeys. I really know that they're so scary. And at the same time, this is where we mine the gifts and where so much the poisons are transformed into nectar. And it cannot be so without really going into those underworld journeys, because it's through these underworld journeys that we actually have the opportunity to reclaim lost, hidden, and thrown away parts of our own self. And so we're going in and reclaiming them and then mining them to the surface, and jewels upon jewels are born within us. So gifts are born in these ways, as we know. And so I had several years that were extremely intense, and I was en route to medical school, and everything seemed to be, to the outer world, all perfect and happy. But inside me, it was a total meltdown. Definitely the meltdown of the chrysalis, and the big metamorphosis of life. And I started to feel something inside myself that literally was felt like a total shutdown when I even thought about medical school. And then I started to feel almost, I always talk about it like this big hand on the back of my heart, like as if I was going to go. My mind is like, I'm going this way into medical school. And this hand was like, you're going to go this way. And I was like, what? And so I ended up just saying, okay, I'm not going to do it. It was a huge choice for me. And I essentially just packed my bags, and I went on the road, and I landed in communes, and I went to Ireland where my Irish roots are. And then I started going to India, and then I landed in a mystery school and all sorts of things. It just kept opening, 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 but it was so unknown. I honestly did not ever know what the next day was going to be. And I just kept following it. And then I would try to go back to medical school, and would even defer it. And the counselors and stuff would listen to me. And they're like, you're never coming back. Go, keep going on your journey. And I was, no, I'll come back in 1 year. So I never went back to medical school, but life opened up in this like soul explosion. That's what I want to say. So I really just followed it in a big way. And in that, I had to strip myself of my constructed identity. I had to dismantle quite a lot of dominant culture within myself and in my own mindset. The dominant culture that was pushing me, for the grades, for the university degree, then to medical school, and then you do this, and dominant culture just like pushing me like this. And my soul, though, was dismantling all that. And the process was quite intense. It was very messy. There was a lot of tears, but there was also just an eruption of total creative energy. And so the last thing I'll say about it is that these times are like unraveling knots within our being, like things that are held within our shadow, because it's not just our fear and things like that in our shadow, it's also our greatness, our magic, our what we're able to contribute. And when we start to turn to it and compassionately unravel it, there's extraordinary amounts of liberatory energy, creative energy that begins to move through us. And it can look very different than what our mind, in a rational, linear way, is thinking it's going to look like. So it'll no longer be point A to B to C, but all of a sudden it's going to be cyclical and spiraling and unusual and out of the box. And that's the journey of the soul.
There's so many things. And I think the thing that I want to like push into a little bit more, especially as I've been introducing the community quite a bit into shadow work, which is something that you introduced to me. And I quote you all the time. I'll never forget sitting in your house, and you were telling me to see Robert and that I should maybe do it. And I was like, I don't know if I should do that. I don't want to do shadow work. I've been to therapy. I don't know if I want to do it. And you said, Justin, the bigger the light, the bigger the shadow. And you said that. I quote you on that all the time. And I was like, shit. I was like, I think my shadow is probably really big. And that was the opening for me. And when you just said something that I would love to unpack, because a lot of people think of the shadow as just the bad stuff is there, right? And you said, no, there's more than just the quote unquote fear and scare and bad stuff there. there's gifts and things. So what do you mean by that? I would love to hear more about this.
Yeah, so shadow work, think of shadow as anything that we haven't cast the light of awareness to, anything that we're not paying attention to can be in shadow. So that really is a pretty big amount of things that
Yeah.
can be living in our own shadow. The ego will go, shadow, wow, that's all the scary stuff, the stuff I'm afraid of. And that is there because the things that we're afraid to name about ourselves live in our shadow, because it's like putting stuff into the back of the drawer, the closet, and being like, I don't want to deal with it right now. And so just go there. We do that inside our own being. And there's also the aspects of ourself that we're afraid to embrace, that are like our bigness, our greatness, our the big magic of who we are. And we are have been conditioned not to listen to it, not to follow it, or not to believe or trust in our own self. And through this conditioning, the conditioning happens in our societies, in our cultures, in our own inner being. There's just so much conditioning and dominant culture pushing certain things that we start to disconnect from the really essence of our being, a separation from the infinite self that we are. So as soon as we turn towards that which we cannot see, yes, we will be embracing our the wounds within us, the vulnerabilities, the fears, the repressed angers. All of it is there, and will come with great compassion. And as we are casting that light of awareness, we'll begin to see, oh, there's the song of my voice that I pushed in there when I was a little child. There's my playful spirit skipping around when I was told, hey, get in here and do this or that, like attend to your homework or do whatever. And that spirit of play somehow, it could be our compassion gets pushed into our shadow, our empathy, our ability to we all have this capacity to really relate with each other and be present, and yet our empathy can get pushed into shadow. So many things can be living in our shadow, and that's why for me I speak of shadow as being willing to have that courage, that bravery to track our shadow. And when we do, guess what, we get to be shadow dancers, and
Mm.
it's so much fun.
See, this is beautiful, and it gives us even more reason and desire to dig into our shadow, because I think so many people think like, oh, if I go there, it's just all my hurt and all my pain and all my this, and yes, it's all mixed together, but like there's so many of our great gifts, hiding in the shadow.
There's a genius inside every feeling, every emotion, every experience. There's a gift inside all of it.
Mm.
And I think that's really, really important for us to remember and embrace.
Yeah, yeah, this is
This is the
essential.
alchemy. I mean, this is the alchemy within.
Yeah. And speaking of this alchemy, I think one of the final questions, and I could just talk to you forever. I feel like we're just warming up, but we're coming to our time, is as we're looking into this year to come, and we're looking into the transformations that we're all really wanting to step into and make. We have, you've said about the courage and listening to our heart and speaking and thinking about the collective. And I just want to know from you, what is your big wish for humanity and for each of us as individually, the collective we and the individual me, as we're stepping into this new threshold of the new year?
Yeah, so beautiful, Justin. With all sincerity, my wish for humanity is that as much as we can, wherever we are on the planet, and as much as our hearts just keep, breaking open, I really feel like COVID 2020 is such a massive heartbreak year on so many levels. And I I always bow to the heartbreak time as increasing heart awake, like from heartbreak into heart awake, heartbreak, heart awake, heartbreak, heart awake, so that I don't turn away from the pain, and to embrace it and just keep letting it burst me open in every possible way. My true wish is for as many of us as possible to really turn towards collective care and to look into our most immediate families and surroundings and communities, and look to see, like, right where we are, um, what is being marginalized, who is being pushed out into the places of greater oppression and even being erased by dominant culture. And that through this massive waking up inside our whole being, that we just start seeing this and saying, like, okay, this injustice is not okay, this injustice is not okay. Now where am I going to make my contribution with the gifts that I have, like really pull through our magic in a big way for the benefit of the greater whole, and start bringing it into awesome action, because to have a great intention is not going to make it happen. So to bring it all the way through and start asking how we can help and contribute and be part of real, true collective care, that for me is my wish and vision for 2021 and forever after.
It's amazing. Sianna, I think I would love to just ask you to close us out with a little prayer.
Yeah. Okay, family. If you wish, reach down to touch the seat that you're sitting upon, or even down to the floor, symbolic of reaching down to the earth and the roots of your being, into the roots of the earth. And in the roots of the earth are all these gorgeous little filaments and mycelia, and this interconnected exchange of nutrients and real intelligence within the earth that understands that we all belong to each other. And so we reach down through the rootedness of our being into the great rootedness and remembrance of who we are, and with Mother Earth and to all beings. And from this groundedness, if you wish, reach up. Let your whole body rise from the roots, rise to the sky. Really open it up and allow yourself to just receive the abundance of all that is, this universal intelligence, and the infinity of blessings, the infinite self, and draw it into our own heart. And let's just take 3 alchemical heart wing pulses and breaths. Feel that movement, the cycles and the seasons, the ritual and the rhythm of all life through our breath and our body. And then bring it to your heart with this mudra we showed before of the diamond body, the unshakable trust in our gifts, in our magic, in our journey in this process. And then I'll just finish with just this beautiful song that I've been singing all year, Blessed We Are by Paia. Blessed we are to dance on this ground, with the rhythm of saints to carry the sound. We hold a prayer for the earth and the ones yet to come. May you walk in beauty and remember your song. Blessed we are to dance on this ground, with the rhythm of saints to carry the sound. We hold a prayer for all life and the days yet to come. May you walk in beauty and remember your song. Remember why you came here. Remember your life is sacred. Remember why you came here. Remember your life is sacred. Take a beautiful breath in, family. Breath of the heart and of the big, vast vision of the infinite mind and of your body prayer, and blow it into your hands. And then we offer this blessing breath out to each and all, near and far, here and there, through all time, all space, through all eternity. And so it is. Blessed be.
Blessed be. Ashe, Aho, Salam, Shalom, Amen, Satnam, Om.
And Awen.
And Awen, adding that
That's
to
the
my
Celtic Druid prayer.
yes, Awen, Awen.
Means the flowing spirit.
Ah, love it. Sianna, Sherman, thank you so
Justin
much
Michael Williams. I love
for
you.
being with me. And for all of you listening, thank you so much for taking the time out of your days and out of your lives to allow our voices to be in your ears today. It's an honor and a privilege that we don't take for granted. And my biggest prayer right now is that you leave this conversation feeling more hope and inspiration and possibility and belief in yourself and in your heart wings and the activation of your own alchemy, that we can all keep rising together. And so I love you. Thank you. And I'll see you in the next video.